So how do you buy tax lien certificates in Florida? Well, Florida is a huge state for tax lien certificate investing. Make sure you watch the end of this video because I'm going to show you how you can get the resources to make enormous amounts of money in tax lien and tax deed investing and do it safely and powerfully even from your first lien. Between Florida, Arizona, and Texas, they have the most tax liens anywhere, and they can be really lucrative places to invest. In Florida, the stated tax lien interest rate is 18%, which is terrific. But here's the deal. Generally speaking, the auctions are competitive, and they're going to bid down the interest rate until it's probably 0.25%. What does that mean? Well, in Florida, the way that you bid is you say, I'll take this interest rate, and then the next bidder says, well, I'll take this lower interest rate. And especially in the bigger counties, that interest rate is often going to get bid all the way down to the lowest rate of 0.25%. You'll hear that as 25 basis points. The reason that it's bid to that is that once someone gets that interest rate at 1/4%, the real interest rate they get is 5%, because for whatever reason, Florida decided that's the minimum 5%, unless you bid 0%, in which case you get 0%. But as long as you bid 0.25% or more, then you'll get either the higher of 5% or the amount they actually bid. Now, another trick in Florida is that the bidding is so competitive that often people will register multiple entities and be bidding just because they want a chance to bid. So I think a better strategy in Florida is go after the over-the-counter market. Now, what on earth is that? Over-the-counter liens are liens that were offered but weren't purchased for some reason. And this happens all the time. It can happen for two reasons. One, it was just an overlooked lien. There's so many liens that no one could possibly do all the due diligence on them. So some good ones do get overlooked, and then they're available to purchase with no competition from the state directly. So that's a really good way to do it. The second reason, and the reason you need to be more careful, is that sometimes liens aren't sold because they are a lien against a lousy, useless, valueless, flea bag kind of property. And we don't want to be buying those liens. The reason I say this is that when you invest in a tax lien, it's only as solid as the property that stands behind that tax lien. Now, when you're dealing with a solid property, then your tax lien is pretty much guaranteed to pay off. And that's what tax lien investors generally want. They want their interest. Because tax lien investors in Florida are not going to get the property at the end. So in some states, like for example, Illinois or Iowa, if you buy the tax lien and no one pays it off, which is called redeeming, if no one redeems it, you just get the property. So you might get the property for just pennies on the dollar. It's fantastic. But in Florida, what they do is they offer the tax lien, and then at the end, if the person doesn't pay the tax lien, then the property is auctioned off at a tax deed sale. A tax deed sale is where the successful bidder gets ownership of the property at the end because they get a deed to the property, and deed equals ownership. So when you're buying a tax lien, usually what happens is the owner wakes up and says, oh my gosh, I'm going to lose my property. And then they run down and they pay the taxes plus the interest, and you get great money. You get your money back that you paid for the bid plus interest at a high rate. Now, it depends, of course, what you bid. If you bid 0.25%, it's not going to be a high rate because it'll be 5%, but can be a very high rate. But the thing is, no one is redeeming a lien against a valueless property. So sometimes the liens are sold against properties that are just little strips of land that are useless. It could be that a surveyor made a mistake. This is, I think, the most common reason. Maybe someone subdivides a property and they make a cul-de-sac. In a cul-de-sac, it's easy to make a math error, and they can end up with like a little sliver of land that isn't useful. So, it's not big enough to do anything with. Maybe it starts an inch wide here and ends, 5 feet wide at the end of the property because it's a little pie-shaped thing. No one's paying the taxes on that. No one's redeeming it. It's useless. You don't want it. If it goes up for a tax deed sale, no one's going to buy it. So there you're just going to be throwing your money away. And you may as well go have more fun at a casino, but casinos are not investing. So what we want to do is make sure that you do due diligence against any property for a tax lien you're going to buy. Because think of it, you're almost underwriting a loan. And if you underwrote a mortgage loan, you'd want to make sure you have a good property, right? So in tax lien investing, make sure that you're investing in liens against good properties. What a good property means is a property where there's a structure on it. For example, something with a house that's occupied. Land with an occupied house is almost 100% guaranteed to get redeemed. You'll get your interest with a minimum of headaches, minimum of hassles, super easy process. It's really great. The ones that are less certain are vacant pieces of land. Vacant piece of land, much trickier. You could have something that's not buildable because it's too narrow. You could have something that's not buildable because it has no street access. You could have one that doesn't have sewer access and where you can't build a septic field, so you can't build on it. So when you're buying tax liens, generally speaking, you want to buy against occupied properties that have value to them. And when you do that, you're almost always going to get your tax lien redeemed. If they don't redeem it, it's fine. It's going to get sold at the tax deed sale. You'll get your money back and all is good. So make sure that you do your due diligence. Now, I've done other videos on due diligence in tax lien sales. I'll give you a very quick primer on it now. If you want to dive deeper, just look around my channel and you'll find more of them. But when you're talking about a tax lien sale, make sure that you take a look at the property. First, you look at it electronically. You do that in two ways. One, you look on Google Maps. Just do an overhead view. If it offers Google Street View, look on the Street View. Look around using a little man, they take pictures on the street so you can see them. Do that with Google Street View and look and say, is this a house that's on the property? How does the street look? Is it a decent place? That's number one. Second, you look in the GIS system, which is a government system where they overlay the lot lines of properties in a county on a map so that you can see, oh, there's the thing I'd be bidding on. Is this some little tiny strip of land that's useless? Is it something under a drainage ditch? Is it something underwater? If it is, I don't want it. It's any of those things. So the GIS system overlays the basically parcels of land on top of the map. You look at that. And then the third thing you do is you get some eyes on that property. Either yourself driving by or with someone working for you, driving by and checking out the properties, because you don't want to be bidding blindly, because they will sell tax liens on any property, maybe a valuable property, maybe a valueless. They don't give you any warranties or representations on that. So make sure that you're putting eyes on a property or someone working for you is doing that and giving you a report before you put down your hard-earned money. Now, on the other side of this, these can be wonderful investments. Tax lien investing can be great. You can make a lot of money with it, but only if you do it right. So I have a great resource for you. A buddy of mine is the country's foremost expert in tax lien and tax deed investing. And I sat down with him recently. For 20 minutes, he spilled his guts and gave me all the best tips and tricks that he knows in this field, and also a way for people to get more education. He is the master. He's been doing this since the early 1990s. He's the guy that I go to when I have a business question about investing. I'm an attorney, so the legal stuff I can handle really well, but I consult with subject matter experts when I want to invest my own hard-earned capital, and this is the guy. So click down below and you'll see my interview with Tony, who is the man on the top of the mountain. He's the guy you'd walk in the Himalayas for 2 days solid to go sit at his feet for an hour. That is the value, the wisdom that he has on tax lien and tax deed investing. So go watch that video. I hope it starts your education and you have a fantastic business in tax liens and tax deeds. I started as a tax deed investor way back in 1989. I built an amazing career. I've built wealth. I've built friendships. I've built a great and meaningful life through the magic of tax deed and tax lien investing and real estate investing in general. I'd love this to be your start down that path as well. So go check out that video. If you have questions, put them down below. My team and I go through the questions periodically. I answer every one that I can, and I'd love to be answering your question, but I can only answer your question if you put it down below. So do that now, and I will hopefully be answering your question directly. And then click on that video, go watch my interview with Tony, and get the inside scoop on how you can make money with tax liens, tax deeds, and over the counter. I'm attorney Bob Diamond, over and out for now.